I'm sure most of you are familiar with Skinny Medic. He has a pretty active YouTube presence. And he presented 2 classes at the Preppercamp, as well as had a vendor spot. And I went to both his classes. And while they did overlap quite a bit, I got a lot out of them. I'm just going to go over some of the high points or takeaways that I got from him. He recommended that you get a stethoscope and a real blood pressure cuff. And he pointed out they're very inexpensive. And I've already gone online to Amazon and ordered, and they actually sell them as kits. You can find several vendors on Amazon that will sell the two together. And I got mine for less than $20, right at $20, and you can buy them cheaper. I went with one that has some really good reviews. In addition to that, he recommended that everyone have a physician's desk reference. He said you don't have to buy the newest one, get one a year or two older, but they would be really good for looking up drugs after an SHTF situation, or just day to day. And sure enough, you can buy them used. I think I got mine for $10 off Amazon. It's not here yet, but mine's a 2015. I got it for less than $10 used. And the reason for having those items, the stethoscope, the blood pressure cuff, the physician's desk reference, is so that you can better maintain your people's health and doctor them when there is no doctor, when you don't have somebody to go to after an SHTF situation. He highly recommended taking a basic first aid course, and he offers first aid courses. I think his are a little more than basic; they're more trauma centered, but you have to be in the Greenville, South Carolina area for that, and I'm not. I am going to try to find a good local first aid course. I've had first aid training in the past, but it's been a long time, and definitely could do with some refresher. He talked about treating wounds, and he really recommends stockpiling saline solution, and in this case we're talking just eye flush, saline solution, and betadine. And while some people do have an allergy to betadine, he said you drop a couple drops in the wound and you will very quickly find out if this person has a betadine allergy, and then of course you would not proceed, but most people don't. And he recommends a 50-50 split between saline solution and betadine for treating wounds. If you do use hydrogen peroxide, he recommended you only use it once, and after that don't use it again. Move to the saline solution betadine mix. Skinny Medic preached quite a bit against sutures and suturing. Pointed out that it's a skill that takes quite a bit to learn, and it's a skill that has to be maintained. And I've never bought a suture kit. I have some suturing stuff somebody gave me, and but I've never done it, and I probably would make a mess of it. Hopefully whoever I sutured would already be dead. But what he recommended instead of suturing is butterfly closures. And he pointed out that you don't even have to buy butterfly closures, you can make them. And he quickly made a large, about that size, butterfly closure out of duct tape. And he pointed out you should change them every day. And what you do, and I knew this, you start out with a large wound and you just slowly close it day after day. You don't try to close it all at once. he talked a little bit about antibiotics and fish mocks, and he's pro fish antibiotic. Speaking of antibiotics and drugs, he pointed out a U.S. Army study on medicine's shelf life, and I've since gone and Googled it, and the fact is that the shelf life listed on medicines is ridiculously underrated, and most medicines will last quite a few years, multiple years after their shelf life dates. And he pointed out that at the most, say with your aspirins and your Tylenols and your Motrins, if something's 5 years out of date, instead of taking 2, take 3. That's fairly common knowledge now among the prepper community, I think, but a lot of people who aren't tuned into that still throw away a lot of perfectly good medicines. And lastly, I was going to just show the haul that I made. Probably the biggest takeaway that I got from him is his new favorite trauma bandage is the OLAES trauma bandage. He likes this even more than an Israeli bandage. And he was selling those, and as you can see, I bought quite a few from him. And I'm not going to open one to show you. I will reference one of his videos. And what's so great about these bandages is they've made some improvements over the Israeli in that they have included in them the capability for an eye bandage. They have gauze in them that can be taken out and used. And it just really makes the viability and the multi-use of this bandage so much more. And I was really impressed. And he, like I said, he was selling those there, and I bought quite a few. And I'm like him. I'm not throwing out my Israelis. They're wonderful, but I think for the same price or so, these are probably better. I also picked up some burn gel, and I bought these combat eye shields also because I really think that eye injuries are something that people tend to not prepare for, not study, and not include in their supplies. All right, that's a quick takeaway from the Skinny Medic classes that I took at Preppercamp.